Thank you all again to our media partners who are joining us today for our briefing for Friday morning. There have been a lot of developments overnight, and with us to give everyone an update is President and CEO of CPS Energy, Paula Gold-Williams, our Chief Customer Engagement Officer, Rudy Garza, and our Director of Community Strategy, Jesse Hernandez. We will have each give a briefing, and then we will go into Q&A. And as we've done in the previous days, we'll get to as many questions as we can during this next hour. So I'm going to turn it over to Paula.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you again for being here with us to allow us to share the latest information with you. I did some fine tuning on my connectivity and made some other arrangements. I have my camera on this morning. We'll keep it on, assuming we don't have problems where you can't hear us. So appreciate the ability to be able to have you see us and hear us at the same time. I will say that clearly energy, I talked about this before on multiple occasions, but energy affects water, and water affects energy, energy affects communications, and communications affects energy. Again, there's nothing that we do that we know hasn't caused some element of disruption here, all driven by the unprecedented weather event that has happened. And I have to continue to start with every time I talk about my deepest apologies to our citizens of San Antonio, our customers that have been negatively affected by the inability to keep the power up under these extreme weather conditions. It was a very difficult situation, but I know in reality, every single person had to sacrifice and persevere through this really difficult time. And I am thankful for you. Thank you for you being our customers. My prayers personally are with you, and our employees are passionate about continuing to serve you. And we are getting through this part of the crises. I do see there are continuing crises that are happening across the city as we're trying to recover going forward. We're paying attention. We're looking to see how we can be helpful, in particular, staying focused to solve any energy problems as they pop up. You heard from us yesterday that we had some strong improvement, not last night, but the night before, in the weather conditions before the blizzard of snow came in here. And that allowed a reprieve across the state, and ERCOT signaled to us that the massive outage management requirement that was required for every single community was lifted. It's suspended temporarily. Yesterday was a tough day, very tough day. Snow just kept coming down, and there was ice underneath it. When the outage mass outage requirement was lifted, we moved from 200,000 people being out to under 10,000 people being out. Our employees, our frontline employees, pushed through it. They worked around the clock and into the night. And we Rudy will give more of an update on his, but we are down to less than 400 people currently still out. We attacked that the number of 10,000 by prioritizing, looking for the customers and citizens who had been out the longest. Some of those repairs were very complicated to do, but our team hung in there to do it. The great thing is, I am appreciative also to the community to continue to practice conservation. We are coming out of this. We are still not out. Conservation, conservation, conservation. I'm sitting here at my table only with the sunlight coming through to work through it, and I don't have a lot of lights on at all. I don't have any lights on in my home, and I don't have TV on if I don't need it. I put it on to catch up on the news, but ultimately just to have it running for some other program right now, we're not doing that. Our employees are working diligently and staying focused. We have a lot of employees that have been affected again because they also don't have electricity, and water, and there are some food challenges. So again, we are just a microcosm of the same things that our community is facing. So that said, they are still finding time and ways to get to work again to take care of customers. We did have a problem last night. One of our employees, troubleman, was trying to get to a job, hit a patch of black ice, and flipped a bucket truck last night. He is been to the hospital and is now home. We believe he will be okay. The manager of that employee who tried to go check on him was involved in a hit and run. He was hit trying to get to another employee to see how he's okay. I still believe that we should see improving conditions on the road. We are still encouraging people to not be on the road as much as possible, because I think it will take some time for the black ice to fully melt. So we're here for San Antonio. We are here in the recovery. We are making it through the challenges of the reliability side of our business. There will be some significant issues around affordability for the state of Texas and San Antonio. I mentioned those yesterday. The cost of this event, in terms of trying to supply power, we're still trying to get our hands around the numbers, but it's going to be huge. We are committing to the community to do everything we can to minimize the impact of that, to spread it out, to find ways to push the costs out, through financing mechanisms and things like that. We will come forward with a proposal to the board and council and explain it to you as we get more things developed. This will take time for the state to work back through. So I will stop there and then turn it over to Rudy.
Well, good morning. And again, I want to start by thanking our customers for their patience and their resolve through this event, and continue to apologize. I will apologize for the rest of my career due to the impacts of this event on the families of our employees and the families of our customers. We're all a part of this community, and when our community hurts, we hurt with it. So I want to just punctuate the fact that our teams have been working around the clock to get past this event. And while things are certainly looking up, our customers have been phenomenal, even through, the emotion of not having power and then not having water and now food and fuel, issues. This is what happens when we find ourselves with challenges in the energy markets that ultimately have led to the events of this week. We are working day and night to get the last of our customers restored. We've made phenomenal progress. We've gone from 10,000 to 6,000 to 3,000 to now we're down under 400 customers, and the outages that you're seeing now are equipment related. They are, we start from the largest number of customers out for the longest amounts of time, and we work our way down. So the customer outages now are a smaller number of customer outages that we're working in neighborhoods to, replace transformers and to pick up services and to refuse parts of our system that had issues. And so, I have all of the confidence in the world that the customers who are able to receive service should get that service back on, over the next, 12 to 24 hours at the latest. I believe it will be sooner than that, but you never know what you're going to encounter until we get on site. So I want to thank our customers, as Paula said, for the conservation efforts. Conservation made a difference in coming out of this event sooner rather than later. Paula has talked about this time and again, and I want to reiterate it. The efforts to stabilize the grid over the last week prevented catastrophic system-wide failures across the state of Texas. And when we find ourselves in a situation where we lose the system, that can be a multi-week to a multi-month event. And so So the actions taken were necessary to prevent a more catastrophic event, but that does not minimize by any means the impact to our community. We're with you. We feel for everybody who's had to sacrifice during this time, and we're going to learn, I think, a lot of lessons about things that we all can do better, as we deal with extreme weather conditions and look forward to a more resilient and resolute future. So thank you, and I appreciate the time today.
Thank you, Paula and Rudy. We will go straight to Q&A, and we're going to start with Paul Flave with Texas Public Radio.
Paul, thank you for joining us. You'll be unmuted now.
Yeah, Paula, has water system pumps has power been restored to all these systems? I know that FEMA was sending out generators, and some of them weren't the right size for our system.
Thank you, Paul. A lot of them have been restored. However, there are water breaks, pressurized systems. We are working with SAW, our partner, and specifically with customers to delve into these specific issues, but most of them have been repaired. Rudy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, yesterday we worked on the last 5 and validated that the last 5 were on last night. So all of the pumping stations across the system that support SAW's efforts are all have power and are operational.
Thank you, Paul. Next, we'll go to Charles Ford with Spectrum News.
Charles, thank you for joining us. You'll be unmuted now.
Thank you.
Charles, you're unmuted now to ask your question. Looks like we're getting some feedback from Melissa from Charles.
Okay, that's fine. Oh, next we'll go to Joshua Fector with the San Antonio Express News.
Melissa, I'm not seeing Josh on here as an attendee.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw him earlier. We'll go to Diego Mendoza Moyers.
Diego, thank you for joining us. You'll be unmuted now.
Yeah, hey all, good morning. I'm just wondering, do you expect this event and the financial implications to throw CPS's other initiatives off at all? Thinking of the Rate Advisory Committee, the Flex Power Bundle, other programs that CPS had planned for this year. Do you think this will affect that at all?
I don't think it'll affect the ultimate outcomes of that. We are not shelving those initiatives. We know that those are very important and helpful. So we will keep pushing. Right now, we're having to put the majority, if not all, our efforts on just getting through this reliability issue. But we're talking more about the others, or maybe suspended a little bit of timing. But I believe in the next couple of weeks, you'll see us get back to a good momentum on that. I do want to indicate anybody who can't really get their mic working, Rudy and I will look at the chat too. So with Melissa, and she'll help us get through some of those questions if your mic is not working.
Paula, next we'll go to Brendan Gibbons with the San Antonio Report.
Brendan, thanks for joining us. You'll be unmuted now.
Good morning. Thank you for doing this. A question that I've been seeing a lot, and people have been wanting us to ask you, is whether San Antonio could have been okay on its own if it weren't connected to the state grid in a situation like this. So I wonder if you could kind of walk through an explanation of whether that's even feasible or what that would mean. Could we go it alone? What do we need ERCOT in the state grid for? Thank you.
No, Brendan, great question. We get that, pre weather event, we would get that question from time to time. I would say no, we can't really go it alone unless San Antonio wants to probably double or triple its capacity on its own, which would be extremely, extremely expensive and difficult to manage. So you would build a lot of capacity that you may never use trying to build insurance. We have a ton. We have about a peak, a normal peak. Now we have a new peak on the winter side, but let's say anywhere from 5,000 to 5,500 megawatts of capacity. And we have over 7,000 megawatts, which typically will cover us even if there are problems across the portfolio. But to do something like that, I would tell you, you probably need 15,000 megawatts of capacity, and that extra premium of cost would make San Antonio probably the most expensive market. The grid in itself, again, is also, if the system only sat on San Antonio, the one that went across the whole state, and if we were the only ones to have had that particular issues, and our lines were freezing, and we had no way to import energy from the rest of the market, we again would actually have, I think, a bigger crisis. There is a benefit to having a connected grid. Usually the distance and geography, again, gives you the ability to move power back and forth, to optimize your renewables, to be able to optimize your natural gas systems and all of those things that really work. It's a huge network and very diversified. I just will close with San Antonio is extremely diversified and it helps everyone. But then when we put it inside of an entire grid that's diversified, we get a big benefit. So we just would have had other problems, I believe, if we were on our own.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Emily Bockham with WOAI.
Emily, thank you for joining us. Unmuted now.
Hi, I have two questions about billing, so I'm asking permission to ask the first one, get the answer, and then ask the second one to not muddy the waters. Is that okay?
If you could ask your first question, and then we'll work through the time to get back to your second question.
Okay, I just asked them both then, because they should be very efficient. One, is CPS Energy going to have the same kind of payment plan as SAWS, where SAWS has offered people a break on their bills, saying if last month's bill was cheaper, you can pay that? The second question, I have someone on Twitter who raised a huge concern that the CPS Energy website shows that she's used the most power ever the past 2 days when she had had power at all. Is there a problem with the website that the customers are using to check their power? If there is, and they are charged on their bills, will they be able to show some proof and get a break on those bills?
So I don't really know, specifically what SAWS structure is and how they went through it. I don't think they ended up with any supply problems in terms of pricing. I think I've said from the very, very beginning, we could see from the beginning of this event, even before the Monday issues, that the price of power and the supply of power shot the prices up. Again, I'll quote that natural gas I saw go up 7,000%, go up 10,000%. I stopped counting at 16,000%. So the ability of SAWS to say pay what you paid last month is associated probably with they don't have those type of extreme costs coming through their structure. So we won't be able to say that, but I once again I will say we understand that it would be unacceptable to just have customers bear the costs on their monthly bill and as if anybody could pay for that. So we are working diligently. The financial services team is working diligently, trying to figure out ways to truly spread that cost, potentially maybe 10 years or longer, to try to make it affordable. We don't have that fully assessed. Now, relative to bills right now, again, we're basically going to be patient and work with everyone. I will say, if you get a bill, because it is counting the kilowatt hours, consumed currently, but even at that, just give us a call and we'll work through it. Nobody's being disconnected. We have time to work this out and partner and make sure that everybody is considered. So don't panic if from a system standpoint you see something alarming. We are going to address it and again look for the best way to make it affordable. And our effort is going to be not to have exorbitant bills. So more information to come.
Paula, if I may address the second part of Emily's question. Emily, we are aware of, of customers asking questions about their usage. My team and meter operations and our customer billing team are looking at that to see, what the questions might look like. But as Paula said, anybody who has a question about this event and, as they start to look at their bill and their usage, just give us a call and we will work through those, one at a time. Paula, I just want to reiterate, we're not cutting anybody off. So we have time to be thoughtful and to work with our customers and to get this right. There's no urgency to any billing questions that our customers have. We will work through each and every one of those thoughtfully.
Thank you, Emily, for those questions. And next we'll go to Garrett Bringer with KSAT.
Garrett, thank you for joining us. You'll be unmuted now.
Good morning. I wanted to know more about the billing issue and the affordability. So, Paula, you've mentioned several times we're going to be having an affordability crisis, talking about the 7,000% hike in the natural gas prices that y'all saw while trying to buy energy. How are those costs passed down to the actual ratepayers or to the actual consumers or your customers, or how are they not? I mean, if you're paying higher prices, does that automatically get passed down to our rates? I thought those were set already.
There are, thanks, Garrett, and more information to come, but I'll try to give a high-level view of this. There are fixed costs to the bill, and then there are variable costs to the bill currently. When fuel is bought, and that fuel includes the price of PPAs, the price of buying coal as a fuel source, the price of buying natural gas, the fuel cost. There's an extra element on the bill, and that is also managed separately. Typically, in the non-event perspectives, the fuel costs have been very low for us and Texans. We have an abundance of energy sources here in the state. So it's been a commodity market. It's been very low. Prices have been low. When there are little blips that happen, it's fairly smooth. But the design of how it goes to the bill is it pretty much rolls through a bill over about a 45 to 60 day period. And so it would be automatic normally. But we are looking for a way to capture those costs again and try to spread them. We're going to have to use a large amount of reserves of cash that we have that we've been using to help people manage the problems associated with COVID, meaning we're not doing collections right now. We have to cover more cash. We're going to have to use a good portion of our cash to help get through the immediate demands of paying for the fuel that we had. We're also going to have to use some of our commercial paper. And ultimately, I think we're going to have to look at a way to maybe get bonds to spread the cost. The big thing we need to do is to try to make it affordable, not try to push it through over the next 45 to 60 days to the bills. It's going to require a discussion with our board, with the council, answer questions in the community, but we won't have a lot of time. It'll probably be for us maybe a 60 to 120 day period to try to work that all out. And the reason why it's important to work it out is if we end up not being able to pay for the fuel the way it came through the market, we may not be able to buy fuel under normal conditions because credit in the market, requires people to perform. That it would be like you try to go to the gas station and you say, I can't pay you, but I want to fill up every single day and I want to fill up in a crisis and I don't know when I'm going to pay you. Well, we all know what would happen. We would not be able to pump gas at that establishment ever again. And we know that we get the gas we need, we pay for it, and we leave. And so that's an example. I think the biggest pressure is coming from the extreme pricing that we saw in the natural gas side of the house. Again, it's a supply and demand business. When there's a whole lot of demand and supply gets constrained, that shoots that price up. And so again, I have seen a couple of stories across the state where people are seeing huge bills. I don't know what other utilities are looking at, but we are looking for a way to try to spread that thing out and not make it hit all at once. It just can't. So that's what we're going to do.
Paula, and next we're going to go to Jesse Hernandez, who is our Director of Community Strategy, and he's going to give an update in Spanish. Jesse.
Adrian, can I do a sound
He
check?
was having some bandwidth issues earlier.
I'm so come back. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can,
Okay.
Jesse. Go ahead.
Wonderful. I'm so sorry for the technology issues. Ok, muy buenos días. Voy a dar la siguiente actualización más reciente de hoy viernes, el 19 de febrero. Noche. Y desde las 9 de la mañana hoy tenemos menos de 400 clientes que siguen con una interrupción. Los cortes actuales están relacionados principalmente con equipos. Nuestro enfoque hoy es en restaurar a los clientes que han estado fuera por más tiempo. Nuestros equipos tienen que ir de casa en casa en algunos casos. Y cuando los clientes regresan a casa para descubrir un corte de energía, se están comunicando con nosotros para responder sobre el proceso básico.
So we'll have Jesse call in so we can provide better audio for him.
Yes, thank you, Adrian. Jesse, we will come back to you. So we will go back into the Q&A, and Sanford's now in with the San Antonio Current. All right, looks like Sanford had dropped, so we will go to Josh Saul with Bloomberg News.
Josh, thank you for joining us. You'll be unmuted now.
Great, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Paula, wonderful. Thanks, everyone. I hope everyone's been staying safe and warm this tough week. Paula, thanks a lot for your time today. I'd like to hear in as much detail as possible about that time early Monday morning when the order came in from ERCOT for CPS to shed load. My questions are, I'd love to hear how did that order come in? Was it by email, phone, or what? Where were you and what did you think when that order came in? And then what did CPS operators and crews begin doing at that point to actually shed the load? Trying to tell our kind of readers and people across the world sort of what it was like from your perspective, during that historic time when the order came in from ERCOT.
Josh, thanks for that question. It's a little bit different dynamic probably than I talked about before. So, the way that an operator like we are, a generator and a distribution company, full service, right? We do it all here. But when you have generation and you have a distribution and transmission business, there's constant communication between us and ERCOT before an event. So we have a emergency management operations group that constantly is monitoring the grid and how well it's doing, the frequency levels, all of those things. And it's monitoring the demand that we see here in San Antonio and then what's happening at the state level. So they're in constant contact all the time, issuing instructions. So they were the first ones to receive instructions, and Rudy has probably some detail about exactly how that happens. Typically, they're sending out mass instructions to everyone about the targets that we're supposed to go as a state, give maximum level. Like if there's 10,000 megawatts that we have to go after, that's all they have to say. And our group knows that we have to do in our community 7% of that activity automatically. They don't have to break it down for every single community. So we go after that ourselves. And then automatically our leaders in that area start to make phone calls. They get their team all dispersed. They start automatically looking at the circuits, but then they divide and conquer and then make sure that the rest of the leadership team knows what's happening. So I'm getting phone calls all night long. And so it's starting, they're letting us know the levels. Usually they entered in levels that were things that we've seen in the summer. And again, at the time, the summer issues that we had for actually having outage stress was the maximum. And so it started looking like those summer levels of targets in the low thousands that we were going after, but we were getting update after update after update that we were getting up to like 20,000 megawatts that had to be found. We also would, again, just communicate back and forth with one another, ask how the grid's doing, see what we can do. We already had that weekend mobilized our employees. They knew when storms start to come in, our employees get ready. They know they have to work, and they work in shifts around the clock to make sure that that's happened. But they kind of are on standby until called. And then we also got contractors prepared in terms of the outage issue was caused by bad weather, but there also were concerns that lines would be taken down because of the bad weather. We weren't sure. There was some of that this time, but not as bad as we've seen in other storms. So we were mobilized, communicating and looking. And so there was a strategy of trying to manage the outages. We excluded critical circuits, anything that had hospital, safety organizations, police and fire, 911. We kept the airport up. It was considered critical infrastructure. Those kind of things were our priorities. We also have, that's about a third of our system. About a third of our system is frequency stabilization. And so we can take some of those circuits down, but we can't take them all down. If we lose the frequency level of San Antonio, we could trigger an outage here and across the state. So you can do some things, but not a lot. And then there were a third of the customers who weren't connected to one of those groups of circuits. And those customers were the ones that were hardest hit because they ended up getting taking on the pressure of us trying to take the grid down to restabilize it through outage management. You have to use outages to bring that demand down, and you have to roll them across the state. You roll them in your community, and it's basically happening all across the state. And that's how you keep the stabilization happening. And so we, again, are so sorry for the pressures that it put on certain families. The circuit design could be that a circuit that's on and tied to a critical infrastructure would have been on the whole time, and across the street, the other people not tied to those critical circuits were experiencing outages. So from a visual standpoint, it was extremely difficult. We learned a lot through that crisis, but we can't redesign circuits or look at improvements in the middle of a crisis. But it definitely is inside of our list of things to do to see what we can do to enhance our ability to have it spread more equitably and isolate the actual critical infrastructures as we can, and that would have taken some pressure off. So those are the highlights, Josh. If you have more questions, our media team will be available to get me or Rudy or anyone else to help you with that. But a great question. And Rudy, do you have anything to add on that?
The only thing I would add is, the escalation in the amount of load we were being asked to shed happened really quickly. We went from 400 megawatts to 900 megawatts to 1,300 megawatts to 1,600 megawatts. We were maxed out in terms of the amount of load we were being asked to shed, which required us to get, as Paula said, into that second tranche of circuits that we try to use to protect the frequency of our system. So at one point in time, the peak of our outages was around 372,000 customers, which is, for our customers, that's almost 60%, give or take, of our total customer base, right under 400,000. So, it was significant, and it escalated quickly. And the biggest challenge, and we're communicating with ERCOT in 15-minute increments. So, the real-time nature of our requirement to respond, drives our reaction, in our system. So, it was a rather unprecedented event. And the fact that our temperatures dipped into the teens and got into the single digits and stayed there is really what puts so much stress and pressure on our community.
You broke up a little bit, Rudy. The systems are communicating every 15 minutes. And so that's what he's saying. So from the system standpoint, it's automatic and it's moving. And then on top of that, these targets are being set and communicated to us.
Thank you both, and thank you, Josh. Next, we're going to go back to Jesse Hernandez, who is our Director of Community Strategy. Jesse.
Jesse, thanks for joining us again. You'll be unmuted.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Muy buenos días y mil disculpas por las fallas técnicas. Lo siguiente es la actualización más reciente de hoy, viernes, el 19 de febrero. Tuvimos una mejora significativa en las interrupciones durante la noche y a las 9 desde las 9 de la mañana tenemos menos de 400 clientes que siguen con una interrupción. Los cortes actuales están relacionados principalmente con equipo y nuestro personal está trabajando para restaurar de manera segura su energía. Nuestro enfoque hoy es restaurar a los clientes que han estado fuera por más tiempo. Nuestros equipos tienen que ir de casa en casa en algunos casos y cuando los clientes regresan a casa para descubrir un corte de energía, se están comunicando con nosotros. Por eso les pedimos que si ese es su caso, que se comuniquen con nosotros. Pedimos que todos en las carreteras estén seguros al conducir y que se muevan y disminuyan la velocidad cuando vean a nuestros equipos en la comunidad. De la noche a la mañana, tuvimos un empleado que se volcó en su camioneta de trabajo debido a las condiciones de hielo y otro empleado que su vehículo fue impactado por un vehículo. Ambos empleados ahora están descansando en casa. Las condiciones de la carretera siguen siendo resbalizas y queremos que todos estén seguros. ERCOT informó esta mañana que el sistema está fuera de condiciones de emergencia. Entonces, poco a poco estamos saliendo de esto, pero sigue siendo muy importante para los clientes conservar el uso de energía para que podamos seguir trabajando juntos para restaurar a todos nuestros clientes. Les damos nuevamente gracias por su paciencia y esfuerzos continuos para conservar energía, no solamente hoy, pero sobre los últimos días, para que todos puedan tener la energía que necesitan. Durante esta tormenta hemos aprendido muchas lecciones y vamos a implementar cambios sobre lo que hemos aprendido para seguir mejorando. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Jesse. And next we're going to go to Joel Flores with Telemundo.
Well, thank you for joining us. You'll be unmuted now to ask your question. Joel, you're unmuted. Please ask your question.
Okay, we will come back to Joel if we have time. Next, we'll go to Ruben Verdin.
Ruben, thank you for joining us. You'll be unmuted now. Looks like we're having some audio issues, Ruben. Yeah.
Okay, we will go to, let me see if she's still on, Elizabeth Zavala.
Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. You'll be unmuted now.
Hello, yes, thank you very much for having me. I just wanted to ask, and I apologize for the cliche, but do you see a light at the end of this tunnel or this thaw now that we are, here at hopefully having a better weather outlook?
Yes, Elizabeth, I do. We're looking at the forecast. Even yesterday, that blizzard basically that came in, you could see that again kind of hit a lot of Texas, not just us, but it was incredible of an issue. And today, we're seeing that the temperatures are going up, forecasted, and the snow is thawing, which means we're going to be able to get to those last customers. And so I think we were turning into a good direction yesterday, but it was dicey because it was so cold. With the warming temperatures and getting much more mild, it will get better. And now I can't, I'm not a forecaster, so I don't really know what's going to happen, next month. But typically when we get past February, we haven't seen freezes like this that I know of in the March timeframe. So I think we're headed to a better place from an energy perspective, being impacted by weather. And I think we're good. Now, there are, again, going to be a ton of issues. I mean, we understand the implications to water, communications, recovery, just all the things that people are going to have to do. And so I think, again, I believe, I keep calling it a tsunami, because to try to get everybody back to where they were as we partner with the city, the county, the elected officials, the water company, and other businesses that are already reaching out to customers across San Antonio, which is a phenomenal thing. You're going to see a lot of people making those efforts. I will say our ability to come together and focus on that recovery and be constructive and with CPS Energy will definitely continue to be self-critical. We're going to look at multiple things that we can get more prepared for in the future, but we really want to make sure that San Antonio is back on its feet, and that's our biggest goal. We haven't done disconnects since March because we understand the pressure. March of 2020. We understand the pressure that people have been under. So our concern is for our individual customers, and I think that's still going to be a pretty hard uphill battle to get back to a good place. But as far as energy waves and the pressures that we've seen, like we have over the past multiple days, I think we're coming out of it. Rudy, you have anything to add?
No, ma'am, you covered it.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We have time for one more question, and I'll go to Josh Sanchez.
Josh, thank you for joining us. You'll be unmuted now. Josh, you're unmuted. Please ask your question.
All right, well, we will see if Josh wants a follow-up question with us and our media team after this. We do want to thank all of our media partners again for joining us today and every day this week for these briefings. You've been important partners in helping us reach all of our customers in our community. So we are thankful that you're joining us again today. I'm going to turn it over to Rudy Garza for some closing thoughts, and then we'll go to Paula last. Rudy?
Well, thank you, Melissa, and thank you again to our partners in the media, getting the word out and messaging on, where we are and where we're going, and, what the local impact is really important. We've tried our best to communicate where, the current situation with our community. We can always do better, but these were a very important part of our process as we made our way through this, catastrophic weather event. Again, I want to come back and thank our customers. Number one, for being our customers. Number two, for being, such important parts of making San Antonio, puro San Antonio, as Paula likes to say all the time. We pulled together even in the worst of times to help each other through. I've seen so many stories of neighbors helping neighbors and, family members, bringing folks in. We had, I got a story yesterday of a friend of ours, from our kids' school that saw our linemen in a coffee shop trying to get warm and bought them coffee. And I can't thank the community enough for recognizing, how hard our team in the field and at the power plants and who are on the phone taking calls are working to try to help our community through this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rudy. Paula, we'll turn to you for closing thoughts.
Well, to all of you who are leaders in the news and telling these stories that are extremely important and making sure that that people close to this event get better information, and people who are far away, who are curious about what's happening. It's important that everybody understand this was an unprecedented weather event, never seen anything like it. Beat our needs for power that we've ever experienced in the heat of summer. So there's a lot for us to learn here in San Antonio and to share. We're going to use this event to make improvements going forward and to question things that obviously were raised as gaps that have to be addressed. And so please know that we take this seriously. We feel that this is something that we got to think about as we even move forward to try to figure out what are our true solutions that we're going to in the future, long term, short, medium, and long term. While we do that, the motivation that we have is our motivation to serve. And we consider it a privilege that we get to serve this community and the state. We are sorry. We can't say it enough because we know the hardship and the problems and the perseverance that customers have had to experience. And we are sorry, and it hurts us to see that. We are going to continue to be a 24/7, 365 organization that will work tirelessly to get this and keep it under control. And then going forward, look for ways to address what might happen in the future. I do believe in climate science. I do believe that weather patterns we've seen extreme weather patterns, not to this degree. And so what we saw here that I believe was a 100-year event, we don't believe can't happen again. We believe it can happen again. We need to be thoughtful, and we need to be great stewards and help facilitate discussions going forward about getting ready for that and how to make improvements and things that we can do working with you, our customers, and keeping you in mind to do the right thing in the future. So please know we're on it, and we're going to keep everything else going. The RAC, the resource plan, they're all connected, and just continue to serve the Flex Power Bundle as we look for new solutions. We have to do it all. That's our responsibility. Our 3,100 employees, our people first champions, are actually energy experts. And you have people who are dedicated to finding solutions and best practices going forward. We are committed to that because we want you to have better quality of life than what we experienced over these last 5+ days. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for your perseverance. Thank you for allowing us to serve you.